Hey scrappy friends, Helen here, welcome back to my channel. I've got 4 of the 7 weeks I've missed to share with you today. So I'll do 4 this week and then I'll do 4 next week with this week's photo as well. So there'll be 8 weeks in total. So yeah, I've got 4 different layouts. So they're all 6x8. I'll start with a little quick flip through where we're up to with the 52 weeks album, and I will chapter each layout so you can jump if you want to. But before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber, please think about hitting that subscribe button. If you enjoy the video, please give it a like and let me know in the comments what you've enjoyed. That out of the way, let's get scrapping. Okay, so I've used a snap album from Simple Stories with 6x8 page protectors. For week 1, I've used Elle Studio, and this is Little Man at my sister's. O was there, but he wasn't having his pictures took. Week 2, we were celebrating Moana. Week 3, we went to the circus. Week 4, Little Man was there, so Chinese New Year. Little Man's dad was with us. Week 5, the boys were ill. And I ran and got a coffee whilst my sister sorted Little Man out. Week 6, we were in Cornwall. Week 7, there was no music movement that week, so we went Starbucks for a coffee. Week 8, we went to a play centre with the boys, so that's me and Mr. Ding on the slide. Week 9, we went on a picnic. Week 10, this was Spanish week, but she had Mexican themed things. And then we are going to do week 11, and I'm just giving you a glimpse there of week 12. I've printed the photos for the upcoming weeks. I've actually missed a week, it's 9 weeks missed. But let's get on to week 11. So week 11, I'm using a sketch from Bramble Fox for International Scrapbook Day, and I'm also going to use Shimelle's latest collection, Live the Dream. I've got my scraps pack out there from a layout I've done previously. So week 11, we dressed as penguins. I think there's different animals at this particular one, but our dress up was penguins. Using brandy strips and scraps from that collection. And yeah, I'm just going to do the different strips up and down the page. With the brandy strips, in paper pads, there's a hole in the middle of the hanky strip. So you can still use it. It's still usable. You just make sure that hole is behind a photo or behind an embellishment. So where I am and how I'm layering these strips on this one, those holes are going to be behind the strips of photos. So you see, it's two photos on the sketch. I've done strips of the photos of us dressing up. So myself, my sister, as always, we always dress up, and the boys. So yeah, some of the photos that we've taken, and some are the photos that the girl who organises the group has taken and puts on her advertising for the group. So she usually gets a picture of me and my sister as well. So yeah, it gives us a good giggle that she posts those. So just trimming down the strips here, getting various lengths. I had no rhyme or reason to how long they were. They just needed to be not as wide as 6 inches. They were from 6x8 paper pads, so I know they were 6 inches, and it was just trimming them down so they were no longer 6 inches. Just laying them out here, happy with that, and ends up completely different when it's stuck down. So I'm going to get them stuck down. I do use for, to begin with, and to try and keep them straight, the lines on this ledger paper that I've taken from the 6x8 paper pad. I really like the flower embellishment in the corner, and I thought it did some of the embellishment for us. So I've used that there. I do try and get this strip straight. I bought a brand new T-square ruler because I've lost yet another one. I lost that in the great sort out of 2025. It's probably got in a charity shop bag or a waste site bag by mistake. So I initially thought, you know what, I'm going to add that strip as an extra layer, and then decide it's not going to go far enough up the page if I do that. So I do pull it off and put it in as a layer, just a strip on its own, as originally intended. I'm debating here whether I need to rip that strip in half. It's a lot shorter than the others, those floral ones, because they were from a trimmed down strip that had already been cut for a previous project, or waste from a previous project. Not waste, scrap would be a better word there. So yeah, just coming to the last strip now. I think I might have overlapped that yellow one a little bit too much, but you know what, I'm happy with it, happy with how it's finished. You see there, the yellow one's got a hole. That's going to have an embellishment. You're not going to see that hole when it's finished. So I'm going to do some faux stitching along the some of the strips, because the stitching on the sketch, and I didn't feel like, actually Mr. Ding was on nights, he was asleep, so I couldn't get the sewing machine out. So what I've done is I've just drawn a line across, and then I'm putting dots randomly along the line to make it look like the stitch is going in and out of the paper. That's a tip I picked up from Sarah at Hey Look Magpie, and I am doing some scribbly lines to look like messy thread left over at the end of the stitch line, just to add a bit of interest to it. So sticking my photos down as usual with this album, because it is going to have 52 layouts in it, so it is going to be very thick. I may need to pull out all the spaces and filler pages that come in the album already. I'm keeping it flat, so there's no 3D foam on the photos. I am using the stamps, I was going to say stickers then, stamps from this Shimelle collection, and I initially thought I was going to stamp this in the black, and then do the letters in a coordinated colour. I do pull out Twisted Citron, and then cut that out as my title. I don't actually do that in the end. Oh, you saw there as well, there's little tiny dots that come in this collection, which go lovely on the end, so you can make the chains longer if you want to. So just stamping the letters there. I at the end think, I should have actually stamped the boxes in the green and the letters in the black, but you'll see I completely changed my mind about that in a moment anyway, and it's all going directly onto the background, so you'll see there. So I stamp it off once before putting it on the background, because I want it grey on the background, and I really couldn't be bothered fishing out my grey ink. So I stamp it off once and do second generation stamping for the boxes, and then I do the letters in just black, just first generation, no stamping off. I'm stamping off there just to clean the stamp, because I didn't feel like fighting with my wet wipes. There's a lot of really lazy tactics in this one, but this was one of 4 I had planned to do that afternoon. So I was trying to get things done neat but quick. So that's the base of the layout done. Week 11, as we know, is my title, because it's week 11 in my 52 weeks journal. And any journaling or anything specific related to the boys will get done afterwards, when I'm not going to be sharing publicly. So just adding some of the ephemera here. I think, yeah, this is the die cut pack rather than the papery pack. So pull out some of those flowers and speech bubbles. I take the big speech bubble out, but I do leave the little purple one in. And then I go through the papery, see if there's anything there. So there was a smaller yellow speech bubble. I thought, you know what, that'll do. And get everything stuck down. So I've got these tubs on my desk, which are bits and pieces from Hey Look Magpie and from Bramble Fox, and they're just things I want to get through and I want to get used up. So I use these little suede hearts. I think these are Hey Look Magpie. And I've used like a little piece of pattern paper there for an anchor. So that is week 11 done, and we shall move on to week 12. I absolutely love this photo that the girl who organises the group took of the 4 of us dressed as spacemen, space persons. So I thought I printed it 6x8 and doing a flip up for the other photos. I'm using this Bramble Fox sketch as the little bit on the flip up. I think the flip up is something like 6x4, 6x4.5, something like that. So yeah, I am taking scraps from, this is the Elle studio love paper collection from January, and just using bits from my scraps, or other little bits in there as well. It's a 6 by 8.5 paper pad it is. Um, so just gonna get some pieces out. There is like a border piece on there. I could have used border dies, but I'm still in the I really couldn't be bothered messing about with my die cutting machine at the minute kind of stage. I will get the oomph to play with it again and start using dies again soon, because I've got so many gorgeous dies that I love. I really need to do that. Um, so that's the strip with the punched border on. I've used the EK Success punch there, and I'm just going to trim that off. And I've decided for the base piece, I'm then going to just use this craft piece of the card. I just stick it down and then cut it with the trimmer afterwards, instead of cutting a piece and cutting that off again. So yeah, I do it that way. So instead of all the photos, I do decide just to use this picture of the four of us playing. So Christine's playing with little O, I'm playing with little man, and we were building towers. And then little man was having the best time, living his best life, knocking the towers down. And I just love that picture of him grinning, big cheesy grin with one of the pots. Um, so I start off by thinking I'm going to stamp these chevrons. So I get my Hey Little Magpie, stamps out all the different ones I've got chevrons in, and I do stamp the chevrons. I then regret it. I really don't like it. I haven't conditioned the stamp properly, so it hasn't stamped very well. That's a me problem, not the stamp problem. You may have seen me using stamps, photopolymer and clear stamps, acrylic stamps before. I usually get a rubber, an eraser, and condition them by rubbing off the top layer. Um, I haven't done that here, so that's a me problem. You see me stamping it off on the bit that's going to be stuck to the back of the photo, but it still hasn't conditioned it well enough. So I'm getting my Elle Studio January, February, I think March kits out. I might even grab the April one as well, just to go through the die cut pieces in it for for embellishments on this. So I do think I was going to use that star. There's some labels that I pull out and I do use. Um, there's a tag as well that I used there and trimmed down to use that as kind of like a little journaling spot. I'm just going to go through the other sets as well and just see. I mean, the colours in the January, February, mainly the February actually, really goes well with these papers, because, bear in mind it's from about the time when these papers were released. Um, there are other colours in the 4 months that do go with it as well. I just end up doing a little cluster. So I wanted to cover the chevrons, just covering them made it look really disjointed. So I build up this little cluster, which then makes that label sat there make sense. So I've done that. You see as well as a little banner with the heart on that I stuck at the top of the main photo as well. And I'm just going to go through the puffies here. I don't think I use any of them, but I do grab the alphas that I bought couple of months ago as an add-on, and that's going to be what I use for my title. So this is week 12, is it? And I just put week 12, dead simple on the flip up bit. It's just got the week number, week 12. And then when you flip that open, you see the four of us looking really daft dresses. Explorers, space explorers. Oh, I do use a little puffy. There we go. And that little banner piece, and then you've got the other clusters. So there we go. I think I don't remember doing anything more than that to it. I've got some more. Here's the April die cuts out, just making sure there's nothing else to add. And I find another label. There we go. Today was a great day, which it was. We had a lot of fun. So yeah, there are stills of each of the layouts at the very end of the video, but that is week 12 done, and we'll have week 13 shortly. So here we go, week 13 was half term, so there was no class this week. So it's at my sister's with the boys. I'm using Flower Emporium, the Flower Emporium from Vicki Boutin, 49 Market. And this is also a Bramble Fox sketch for International Scrapbook Day. Um, I've so the pictures are my sister sat having a cup of tea, and little man was determined he was having some tea, grabbing the mug off her, and we've got that photo the other end of the sofa. Little O on his trampoline. So I've just kind of trimmed the photo in half to layer them to give the two. Well, I've zoomed in on little O, to give the two photos from the sketch. So I'm just going through my scraps bag that I already have from the Flower Emporium, because I haven't used this a lot, really, honest. And I am going to um, cut some borders. So I get this. This is a acrylic template from Bramble Fox that I use for this border. I don't really love how this turned out, so I do end up going with plan B and move it over quite a bit more. So I have it going over the other side of the page, and I move it a little bit further over. So I do have to trim off the pen line where I've drawn the template. I've then got a punch out. I forgot I need to cut this bit out the video because Mr. Ding was in bed. He was on nights, and I've actually got on the floor on the carpet to punch the border. So really sorry I didn't cut it out. So that it wasn't making as loud a noise, because I didn't want to wake Mr. Ding up. And it is because it's quite thick. It's much thicker paper than that knockout punch by American Crafts Designs take. So I really did need to give it some welly. And then I've got this border strip that I've done with the UK Success. I then decide, you know what, this doesn't look right with them all being all the way over. It just, I don't know, I just didn't like the look of it. So I have trimmed bits off. I think on the sketch as well, they were different lengths across the top too. And when I started trying to put this together, I realised why. So happier with that. I do think I've cut a little bit too much off the pale blue piece, and you can see me thinking there, but I do just go with it, and I am delighted with how this looks when I have finished it all. So I'm now debating, do the photos go under or over? Do I need them matted? Do I not? So I then pull out the rub-ons from the collection. I am loving these rub-ons. And I've then added two rub-ons, one either side, because I think on the sketch it's mixed media, it's Julie's sketch, so it's bound to have been mixed media. Um, on the sketch there is mixed media on there on the background, so I've just chosen to use these rub-ons instead, and they are going to peek out from behind where the photos go. So just go through the die cuts before I go any further for how am I going to map these photos. I went through the laser cut pieces there. I've decided that we are going to use this label, this tag. So this tag is from one of the cut apart sheets, and I've used it as a banner instead of the tag. So the tag's tucked all the way under, and then I've just bannered the bottom of it. And I'm going to get a second tag to do the same with for the second photo. So these are going to be the banners that come down on the sketch, and then, you know, in effect, my photos. So I am debating which flags I'm going to use for this, whether I'm going to change them out completely. I think, you know, I could have got away with just two rather than the three from the sketch, but add, I do add three. So I am just changing them about which order they're going, where they're going, and then go back to cutting the fishtails in the bottom to make my banners. Um, So yeah, it's just also getting bits tucked far enough under that you're not seeing the white and you're still getting what I need of the banners on the sketch to make it, look balanced and being happy with the layers. I think that's more or less where they stay, or pulling them down a little bit further there. Because I want that different layer on the bottom. I want them to come out different, you know, lower, further down the page, rather than all at the same length. And just you see me there. Wow, they're going under and they're going over. Okay, so now happy with all that. I know where that all that's going. I come in with my other piece of the rub-on. The tags, I stuck them together. I didn't stick them to the page until I'd done the rub-on, because I just wanted to make sure I had the rub-on where I wanted it, and I was happy with where it was. So here comes the photos being added to the page, and then we get the embellishments out. I think I end up with some hearts and some word strips, and then not very much more than that. I really like that sticker. Why did I take that off? Oh, I do add something else in the end there, though. So I'm just debating on this little space here. I've added a sticker which has kind of like that punched border over, and think, you know what, I'm going to add another layer in there. So I get a piece of this spotty pattern paper as another layer to fill in that gap. And um, yeah, sorry, come out of shot then. I really should have had a better look at editing this video before it began, because there's loads of stuff I normally cut out and I didn't, and I don't know why, so I am really sorry about that. Going through stickers now for anything else that I feel needs to be added. I want to embellish. I want to add some of the embellishments. There's so much in this collection, but I'm really uncertain on what to add. So I go with that circle there with the heart. Do add a couple more on around the page. So you've got one there tucked in my layers and another to the side. There isn't very much more, just one more word there that I add to this. So I do go through everything a couple of times, but this is it. So we shall move on to, oh no, the week. I've not put my title on. So week 30, I'm looking at the video thinking this is really long, yeah, and there's a lot I need to cut out that I've missed. But yeah, I add the title. So we've got week 13 added to the top. There we go. Okay, I will leave you with that, and I'll be back in week 14. So here we go, week 14. I am using DLS Designs Radiant Collection, and I am using Kiri's sketch from Hey Little Magpie International Scrapbooking Day. I'm going to use some offcuts. I'm going to use a 6x8 paper pad. I'm going to use the 6x4 and 3x4 pocket cards as well. Yeah, I don't think I use any of the big papers. I think it is all offcuts from cards and the smaller papers. I think. We will find out. I might actually use some bigger ones. You never know. So yeah, just sorting through here what I want to use. I absolutely love the colours in this collection. This was from autumn 2020. Was it 2024? It's only this year I stopped subscribing. Can't remember. Photos for week 14 are Mr. Ding and I in Wales. We went to the sea shanty when the boys and my sister and the rest of our family, so the boys, their parents and grandparents, so my sister, husband, kids, their other halves, and the boys, when they were in Florida at Disney. So Mr. Ding and I went to North Wales. So we're at the sea shanty in Holyhead on Anglesey, and yeah, just having a really lovely lunch, and then we visit a couple of other places on the island as well whilst we are there on Anglesey. So just done the layers of the different papers and happy with them. So how I do this is I stick the layers to each other before sticking it to the page. Try and get them straight. They do end up slightly different to how they were when they were first being laid out, but I just found it easier going back to front rather than starting with the bottom layer onto the page. So I do try and get these lined up. I think I get my T-square. Yeah, I do. Get the new T-square ruler out and then add the rest of them. These might, I said, they're probably slightly different to what they were when I first laid them out, but I'm happy with how the layout finished out, so I'm not going to complain about that. And now I've got them all happily where they are and stuck to each other. I'm just going to stick that as a whole panel to the background and then stick the photos onto that. So as always, these are flat as possible. Don't want to use 3D foam because I don't want to be using any adding any dimension to the page. I'm not sure why I added an extra strip there. I must have decided I needed it. So pop in the title week 14 on. And I don't really add much more to this. I think there's a couple of stickers. This is a really short, quick one. Um, there's a holographic sticker I add that says good times. I'm going to grab that in a moment. And then I think there is some little star stickers as well that I pop around. I do kind of, oh, there we go, there's a little label I've added. I do go through the different um, pieces and look to see if there's anything more. I had forgot to add a little label, but there you go. Week 14 done. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a great day. Bye bye.